Hello and welcome to the first episode of the weekly series I call The Latest. Weekly. Yeah. Said I was doing a podcast too, didn't I? Well, that was still in the pipeline. Now, as expected, the news train ran pretty slow for the first couple of weeks of January, but that doesn't mean there wasn't any news at all, so I think that now is a good time to collect it all together and have a look back at the past month. We start off on the 4th of January when Twitter user @HeyI'mHeroic was doing some code-based magic and discovered that the NPCs in Breath of the Wild are actually advanced Miis known as Yumis. The long and short of it is that using said code-based magic, it's possible to take a Mii and put them into Breath of the Wild to see what they would look like as a Hylian. It's also possible to take a Yumi and convert them back into Mii status, though some features might not survive the transfer. Unfortunately, however, we can't see what Link or Zelda would look like as Miis, because their character models were created individually. Next big news came on the 11th when we found out that Disney was reviving the Lucasfilm game's name, reverting LucasArts back to the original title that it had in the 1980s. Personally, I prefer LucasArts as a title, finding Lucasfilm games a little bit clunky. But being a millennium baby, I don't really have any of the nostalgia that the old name may be trying to evoke. Not long after this, we found that they were licensing a new Indiana Jones game to Bethesda studio Machine Games, which is famous for the Wolfenstein franchise. And not stopping there, the next day they announced a new Star Wars game is in the works, with Ubisoft studio Massive Entertainment, the folks behind The Division. Now this is particularly interesting as EA had previously signed a deal in 2013 granting them exclusivity over Star Wars games for 10 years. It seems that as soon as the deal is up, the plans for Ubisoft to be ready alongside potentially another currently unknown studio, rumoured, and I must stress rumoured, to be working on a Knights of the Old Republic game. Back on the 14th, the internet fell in love with this incredibly tall lady, revealed to be featuring in the upcoming Resident Evil Village. For perhaps obvious reasons, I can confirm I feel the same. Okay, moving on, but not too far though, as on the 14th, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World of the game was re-released following its disappearance 6 years ago. Personally, I'm not so keen on the side-scrolling beat-em-up but you also have a Z-axis, but it's 2D so it kinda makes perspective really weird genre, but as a fan of the movie, it's pretty nice to see it back. Sticking with releases, Hitman 3 was up next, and oh, what a release that has been. Ooh boy. The game came out on the 20th, but 5 days previously, the developers and publishers IO Interactive decided to clarify how progression from the previous games would be carried over for those that had the first two on Steam and were now getting the third one on the Epic Games Store, and it wasn't good news. While having previously promised that levels and progression would be carried forward fine, the new statement essentially said that Hitman 2 levels would have to be repurchased. This seemed to kick up enough fuss, and this is pure speculation here, but probably enough cancelled pre-orders, to spur Epic into working on a solution, which IO's most recent statement has claimed will be coming before the end of February. I, however, lay the blame squarely at IO's feet for making a promise that they were unable to keep, with a host of other issues at launch, such as broken progression transfer site that launched about 5 minutes before the game did, dodgy servers, missing items from expansion packs, disappearing pre-order content, and delayed access to the deluxe version soundtracks and artbook. Let this serve as a warning that when IO's Bond game comes out, maybe don't pre-order that one. Don't take a massive swerve into crazy coincidence news now. I was scrolling Jesse Cox's Twitter and happened to stumble upon a quote tweet that looked like this. This is the account for the Oxenfree alternate reality game, Oxenfree being a video game that I'm very fond of that was released in 2016. For the first time since 2016, the account has woken back up and started posting some cryptic stuff again, making many people wonder quite what is going on. Segueing swiftly into a big old run of bad news now, you know Vicarious Visions, the development team behind the Crash Bandicoot N. Sane trilogy and the pretty excellent looking remake of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2? Well, their own Activision has decided to split the team up, smashing them into Blizzard and setting them to work on whatever the next FTP, MOMA, FPS, MMORPG is. RIP. Then there was a bit of a lull, while Redditors turned the stock market on its head, but as that's not technically gaming related, we'll hop back on the bad news train with the reveal that Control's Ultimate Edition was going to be free on PlayStation Plus. Free, you say? Isn't that a good thing? And to some degree it is, but only if you hadn't already bought the game when it went on sale in January. The Ultimate Edition is the edition of the game required to get the free upgrade to the PlayStation 5 version if purchased for PlayStation 4. With the PlayStation 5 version launching at the same time that the game goes free, those who purchased it a month previously and been waiting to play it are feeling a little bit shortchanged by the whole spending money being no longer necessary. And they're calling for refunds as they haven't actually played the version of the game that they wanted, because it wasn't out yet. In other cases I'd chalk it up to bad luck and move on, but this one stands out to me as a bit more explicitly anti-consumer. And with the aforementioned issue of the upgrade only being available on the more expensive Ultimate Edition, a bit of a bad smell is beginning to emanate from a very good game. On the 27th, the BEUC, a great big collection of consumer rights groups across Europe, put out a press release detailing how they called for the EU to investigate the 25,000 complaints that they received regarding the Nintendo Switch's Joy-Con drift, of which 88% stated the issue had occurred within 2 years of buying the console. And finally, the next day, Fallout New Vegas mod The Frontier was taken down for a bit so the artwork featured within it could be removed. This was because it had come to light that the artist had previously drawn explicit pictures of underage people. Isn't that fun? Once this had come out, a slew of other people who'd worked on the mod also asked for their contributions to be removed, wishing to distance themselves from the mod too. A slight positive came from all this, as it did prompt a review of some of the mod's really questionable tactless content that has since been removed as well, but with 7 years of development behind it, it kind of makes you wonder how it wasn't caught beforehand. What a note to end on, eh? Guess it just goes to show that while fan-made content can sometimes be brilliant and elevate a base game to new heights, there's also a reason that professional writers exist and will continue to do so for a long time to come. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!